Entrepreneurship has always been referred to as the backbone of every society, Zambia included. In Zambia, you'll be surprised to know that the current unemployment rate is currently sitting at 13%. But also something to note is we do have research that suggests that of that statistic, we also have about 1.02 million micro and small entrepreneurs, informal entrepreneurs that have not really been recorded as part of the GDP. But furthermore, we have formal 30,000 MSMEs right here in Zambia. And of those, 90% of Zambians are employed by them. What a statistic. But one thing that we need to note is we have key stakeholders, government included, that are pushing the agenda of entrepreneurship in Zambia. Away from that, we're looking at individuals that single-handedly want to see a revolution when it comes to entrepreneurship in Zambia. And we have one person, and I know they've come to mind as we have a chat today, that actually goes by the name, literally, the radical entrepreneur. Yeah, we have Dumisani Ncube. Did I get it right? Ncube. Oh wow, okay. We'll get it right as we go.
Better with the sweet in the mouth, yeah. Okay. I think it works out better that way.
Yes, yeah. I'll get it right. We'll try again. So Dumisani, CEO, DLN Institute, and also a renowned global speaker. You've heard him speak. I'm sure we've all heard you speak. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for joining us on my work podcast.
The pleasure is mine. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
And one of the things you're doing, you know.
Thank you.
Proud of your works, huh?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is good.
Thank you so much. I know you're a busy person, and for us to get you here it's a privilege. Let's put it that way.
I love your cause, and it is my pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll get into the serious stuff to talk about entrepreneurship, some of the works that you are doing, that you have done in the past. But before we jump into it, I want to know who Dumisani is.
Oh, okay.
I've seen on your social media, we are all giving you pressure about a topic that I want to stay away from. But I'll bring it up at the end of this conversation. Best believe I'm one of those people. Yeah, but I'm going to ask you a few questions that I want you to answer without thinking twice. You're going to give me an answer right at the top of your head. 3 seconds max.
Okay.
Yes. So the first question is, what is the most played song on your playlist?
Try Again, Shakira.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, have you listened to the lyrics?
No.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. As an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
You'll love it.
And I think it speaks then to failure because of the title, Try Again?
Yes. Oh, try everything, not try again.
Try everything.
Try everything, yeah.
Okay.
I think it talks about, you can go down, you rise, beds. It says so much, like you can't learn without failing.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting song actually.
Okay,
I would encourage you to listen to it.
Try Everything, Shakira.
Yes.
Next on my playlist. Are you a morning person or a late night person?
Morning person.
Morning person. I do know you wake up at 4 a.m. You've mentioned this before. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
What's something that everyone else seems to love that you don't understand?
Soccer.
No.
Yeah, soccer.
Okay, guys, I think we need to cut because I can't have him here. Listen, I'm a soccer person. How do you not understand soccer?
I've tried to follow that thing. I don't just seem to understand it.
Oh, shit.
And it's quite interesting.
It is.
I love how people love it.
Yes. But you just don't get it.
I just find it fascinating. Just the whole arrangement of 22 adults chasing packaged air for 90 minutes. There's just something interesting. And people are die hard. No,
I'm a Liverpool fan. Do you know how hard this season has been for us? But listen, 7-0 the other day when we beat Manchester United. That was me going to sleep a happy person.
I hear people talk about it and I see their posts all the time.
Yes.
But
it's just not
me
there.
sitting and watching. But I did watch though in 2012 when Zambia won the World Cup.
So you're patriotic.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so I did watch the last 4 games.
Yeah.
And that was the last.
Oh,
I
shame.
ever did watch. So I
You
hear
know
there's
what?
the World Cup. Well, I would know.
So you didn't even want to travel to Qatar for the World Cup? No.
No.
Shame.
No. I'm not really soccer.
You know, I'll be praying for you. I will. I promise you. What makes you laugh? What is that one thing that you're guaranteed will make you laugh?
Exceptional intelligence.
Really?
Exceptional intelligence.
Yeah.
Now I can explain it this way. I'm fascinated with exceptional intelligence.
Okay.
Even jokes,
Yes.
jokes that are intelligently put.
Wow.
Those fascinate me, and I'm fascinated when one is sharp,
Yes.
intelligent, and puts things in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
That fascinates
You
me.
must be a tough crowd. You must be a very tough crowd.
Yeah.
My God.
Wow.
What's your first memory as a child? What's the one thing that as far back as you can remember?
Wow, as a child. Okay, so I remember imitating a certain uncle
Oh,
who used to stammer.
You're a problematic child.
So I was imitating him,
Yes.
then stammering got onto me.
You know, God
So
works
now
in
I
mysterious ways.
So I got whipped to stop imitating, but by then it had got, because to me, I found it very interesting because it seemed unique.
Wow.
He seemed to be repeating words, and yeah, so I thought of imitating that because
Yes.
of his uniqueness, and then it got onto me.
Yes.
Now mom was whipping me
Yes.
to stop that, but by then it had become part of me. So, and I struggled with that thing up to the time I was around maybe 18.
Are
yeah.
you serious?
Yes. The time I wanted to stop,
Yeah.
I couldn't stop.
Oh,
It had
shame.
really become part of me.
Oh,
yeah.
my
So
God.
I think that's one crazy thing. I don't know how I got there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you got there. You found yourself there.
I found myself there.
Jesus.
I
You
found
know what?
myself there.
You should have that conversation with your children and say, look, there's certain things I don't expect you to do. Do not do that. Okay.
Yeah.
The final question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received? Your favorite. Top of the list.
Excuses expire.
Ooh.
Yeah. Excuses expire. And that's something that I've really held on to. I believe that each and every excuse does expire.
Yeah.
So when I find myself in situations where I would want to cry foul and blame others for my failure and blame others for the way things are, I've come to realize, and based on that advice, that indeed every excuse expires. So from that, I have held on to that, and I have learned to own up and man up. Yeah.
You know what? I'll allow for that to sink in because that's as powerful as it gets. Every single excuse does expire.
Wow. Every, and I mean every excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, and I like saying this, you see, I sympathize with one who is an orphan. You see, if your parents died when you were young and life has been tough and whatnot, you have every reason to cry foul. But even as authentic as that could be, that excuse is going to expire. You can't be 40 years old and keep saying I'm an orphan. That excuse would have expired. Even when we are hit by circumstances that were so real, like COVID, 2020, life was so tough. But I mean, you'd be a very small fool to still stand and say, you see, because of COVID, you
in
see, I'm
2023.
you know, why? Because even that would have expired. But was that a real reason for you to cry foul?
Yeah,
it was.
It was.
But it has expired. Not even the excuse of the economy holds forever. It expires. It is like your grandfather saying, you see, me, I'm this poor because the economy of Zambia in 1972, you should have been there.
I hear you.
But in your kindness, you may not respond to your grandfather, but in your heart, you would say, no, grandpa, if you have nothing to say, I mean, you keep quiet. Why? Because every excuse expires.
Does expire.
It does expire.
You know, I think I'll take that with. I have a different notion to it, but I think it runs the same way. This is my wealth podcast. We talk about money in all different forms. What I know is it's either you make money or you make excuses, but you can't make both.
Oh, interesting.
So
that's a nice one.
It's either you go ahead and you make money or you're going to sit down and make excuses. But where there's money making, there's no room for excuses. And hence, we can finish up with every excuse does expire. And I'll take that with. I'll run with that. Dumisani, you are described as the radical entrepreneur. We know that. I'm sure there are quite a number of people that might not even know your name, but they know you as a radical entrepreneur, and your works do speak for you. We'll get into your works a bit later, but what makes you so passionate about entrepreneurship, and where did it stem from?
Okay, well, I shouldn't care to begin with that I had no intentions of being a public figure, being a public speaker, or talk about entrepreneurship. I had no intentions. I was one of those guys who would then stand and say, no, money, people with notes don't make noise. You see, notes don't make noise.
Yes,
coins are the ones that make noise.
Yeah.
So I believed in that.
Yeah.
So I had a break quite early. When I was 20, we were running a software company with 2 other friends, which then gave me a break. And by the time I was 22, I was doing pretty well. I actually owned these 30-ton trucks, what we tend to call truck and trailers. And people couldn't believe that such a young person could actually own such. Now, where did this whole thing come from of me trying to push the agenda of entrepreneurship, encouraging people to become entrepreneurs? It has been pushed by two things. So the first one, when I was 22, 23, when I had the same trucks, I was then called, people couldn't understand how a villager, a guy who is coming from the village, from a very poor background, could then amount to such at such a young age. So then I was called a Satanist. Yeah. But
very typical of Africans,
Yeah. Satanist. I know, this guy, there is just no way. There are people who've gone to school, but listen, how could he afford to buy trucks at such a young age? There must be something fishy. So I was called that. Now, that was so painful, it was so painful such that at some point I felt it is better for me to stop working, get poor, than be accepted by my society. That is how painful it was. So that is one end, being called a Satanist. Then the other end was when I visited France, and I've shared this story before. I visited France, Charles de Gaulle Airport. Getting that side, when I start at the airport, the immigration lady questions me, where are you from? So I said, Zambia. What are you here for? Here for a business meeting. From which company? I said, DLN Technologies. Who are you that said? I said, I'm the CEO. Then this lady looked at me with suspicion. Then she had all these many questions. Where's the invitation letter? I showed her. Where's the insurance cover? And all these many other questions. And I showed her. Then she asked for my bank statements. And then I told her, well, I do not have the bank statements. I saw no need to move around with the bank statements. So she was adamant. Then she laid me in the hands of the supervisor. So they spoke in French. Then the supervisor asked for the same things. So where are the bank statements? Then I told the supervisor to say, you see, when you are at a university, you have an identity card and a student number. As you enter the lecture room, it is unreasonable for the lecturer to ask you for your grade 12 results, for your acceptance letter and whatnot. Why? Because by virtue of you having a student card and a student number, it shows that you submitted. Yes. So now you look at my passport, I have the visa there. Before being given that visa, I passed through that process. I was interviewed, I submitted all that. So I saw no need to move around with them. Then this supervisor says, no, well, we can't take you in. We are putting you in the next available flight to Zambia. Then I said, well, that is deporting me. Then he says, no, we are not deporting you. We are just sending you back. Then in my mind then, what hit me was, this is how Zambians and indeed Africans are ill-treated. Then I said, well, we are going to court. Then I really didn't know how it works. It was one of those threats that you'd give, like, I'll sue you, when you don't even know how to sue. But lucky enough, they have a very interesting system. So we entered court papers and I was set to appear in court, on the 3rd day. But since I was at the terminal, at the airport, I could not be kept there up to the 3rd day. So I had to be taken to the Red Cross Center. So I was put in a police vehicle. The guys in the vehicle, with guns. One vehicle in front, one vehicle behind, and sirens are on. That's how I got to the center. They got my laptop, my phone, and I was locked in. First time in my life being locked in.
Oh, wow.
3rd day, I was then taken to the courts. First time appearing in court. And by then I'd received an email of the bank statement. So then the judge looked at the at my passport and she said, well, he has an authentic visa,
Yes.
one. Then two, looking at the bank statements, the kind of money that he makes in his country may not possibly make it here.
Yes.
So that's how I was, so he has no motivation to stay here. So that's how I was released by the courts.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You need to get in touch with that judge. That
Yeah,
was a
well, I
very good
need
judgment.
to.
Yes, that was a very good judgment, yeah.
So if you looked at my passport, the first
Yeah.
time I entered France, it was not stamped.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, by that time, the meeting had gone for that side,
Yes.
had already passed. So
Yes.
I'm being released into Paris.
Yeah.
The people I was supposed to meet with are flying out of Paris.
Oh, shame.
Yeah, but one thought hit my mind. The time I was at the airport, people who came from well-to-do countries, no questions, stamp in, no questions. But because I come from a third world country,
Yes.
I had to be subjected to that. So because of that experience, I purposed in my heart that being successful alone is not enough. We need a number of us to be successful. And that's where all this passion emanates from, because we need to realize that a poor country is a collection of poor citizens. So if a number of us became successful, we'll be respected out there. Being successful alone, you won't be respected out there. So two things, being called a Satanist when I was young,
Yes.
and being subjected to that when I was France. Those two pushed me passionately
Yeah.
to see many more people become successful.
Wow.
Yeah. Because, well, by the way,
Yes. Yeah.
if a number of us were successful, do you realize that I wouldn't have been called a Satanist then?
No.
Yeah, because
it's a
success would have
norm.
become normal.
Yeah.
Yes. But because success is not normal, I had to be called that.
Yes.
The number two, if Zambia was so successful, do you realize that I wouldn't be subjected to some of those treatments,
treatments,
yes, in some of these countries. And a number of Zambians wouldn't be subjected to that.
Yes.
We are subjected to that because a number of us are poor. So how about if a number of us became successful? We'll then be respected. So that is where the passion is. And that's where
I
it lies.
hear you. I hear you. And we have like tiny countries in the world like Malta, where people are respected. You might not even know where Malta is, but because it's like a tax haven, it's like a financial kind of country, and it has like a very small population in it. So I don't think anyone from Malta will ever be questioned. Why? Because it has a small number of people, and almost every single, there's like 100% of employment in Malta. Do you know that?
No, I didn't
Like
know that.
every single person who is part of the adult population in Malta is actually employed. The only ones that are not employed are either younger or post-retired, or they just don't want.
Interesting.
Now
Interesting.
imagine a country like Malta, and we have people like you. Hopefully we will have that kind of revolution coming our way. What is your personal definition of entrepreneurship? You have this agenda that you drive. I don't want to hear like the dictionary, the Oxford definition of it. I want the Dumisani definition of entrepreneurship.
The ability to take a risk with the hope of making a profit. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So if you looked at my journey through,
Yes.
I've had this insane appetite for risk.
Yeah.
And I would take on risk
Yes.
with the hope of making a profit.
Yes.
So if I was to give two words that one should underline, it's risk and profit. Just these two.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my personal definition.
So there's this adage, and I think I've heard it time and again, about how entrepreneurs need to have like a sprinkle of insanity to actually go ahead and take up the mantle of finding solutions in different industries, in different markets and whatnot. Is that then the risk that you're referring to?
Certainly. You see, for you to do exceptional things, your reasoning must be exceptional.
Yeah.
The kind of risk you take must be exceptional. I shouldn't get that life generally is a risk.
Yes.
By virtue of you leaving home, coming here, it's already a risk because, there could be an accident, there could anything can happen along the way.
Yes.
In fact, drinking water is a risk.
You might choke.
You might get choked,
Yeah.
So almost everything is a risk, but what then determines those that get to do exceptional things is dependent on those that take in that extra risk. Now, that extra risk comes in with some level of insanity.
Yeah.
So the best you can do is then to see how you can manage, the risk.
Yes, and the appetite of the risk. Yeah.
Yes. But ultimately, risk is a key component if you are to succeed as an entrepreneur.
Okay. So I was looking at this report. It's called the Global Entrepreneurship Monitoring Report, yeah? And it revealed that Zambia is one of the most entrepreneurial countries in the world, yeah? And I think it's a reference to what I mentioned earlier, with over 40% of the Zambian population involved in business activities, leaving countries such as South Africa and Namibia behind. But then there's this one question that I have: if this report be true, majority of businesses in Zambia fail between 6 and 36 months. How are we thriving as an entrepreneurial country, but then at the same time failing? Yeah. Like, why do businesses fail in the wee periods of 6 to 36 months?
Okay, well, running a business is a risk, to begin with.
Yes.
Starting one is a risk. No matter how well you research, there is still that risk attached to it. But you can try to mitigate this. The key reasons why businesses tend to fail in the first 6 to 36 months is sometimes in inaccurate research. Where, you know, what you think is the case tends to be totally different from what the case is. So inaccurate research. So you find that a number of people that don't get to flourish, it could be because they thought, okay, fine, if we enter this way, and the market is this way, and things will work out this way. When they get down on the ground, it is totally something different.
That's true.
And what tends to cause that sometimes is that the risk, the research would have been inadequate. So there is serious need to make sure that before you embark on any journey as an entrepreneur, you do your research and make sure that all the pieces are together. So that's one. Then the other thing, amongst the many other reasons why entrepreneurs get to have it tough in the first 6 to 2 to 3 years, is that is the partnerships. You know, partnerships can be quite interesting. So you have 2 or 3 people come together. Let us run this thing. Then as you get right on it, you find that once a discipline on money usage is totally different from the other ones, and they start having arguments and whatnot, and they end up, you know, not pushing as they should have pushed. And sometimes from that same partnership, you could have a scenario where, you know, one is putting in 100%, the other one is not. It's such simple things like, no, you see, I'm working so hard, but she's not, or maybe he's not. Then as a result, you say, no, I'll not work as hard as well, so that, you know, those
or I'm going to establish my own business.
Or maybe I'll start my own thing, so that, you know, what I push resonates with what I get. Yeah, so it actually comes from that issue of not having well-aligned partnerships. And of course, other than that, you have issues of finances, you know, running out of money, not having a proper marketing plan on how you are going to reach out the market. So there are many reasons that are there. But those that I would put at the top would be, you know, a research which is inadequate, failed partnerships, and the failure to raise funds to get you going.
I think on the research part, I have seen this on a Zambian scale. I don't know if it's happening on like an African and global scale, is the copycat mentality. So Dumisani is running a tech business. I'm going to run a tech business. I have zero idea of Dumisani's specialties and how far he's gotten to where he is. But because we're so attracted to the results and you make it seem very seamless, I feel I can do it. We've seen this with the neighbor runs a chicken business, so I'm going to run a chicken business. But you have no idea the dynamics behind running a chicken business. Do you see that as a challenge with Africans, or let me say it as Zambians? I don't know it from an African scale, but from Zambians, the copycat mentality, because you only see like the results when it comes to running businesses.
All right, so there are 4 steps that I call the 4 radical steps. So the first one is know the game. Where research lies, you know. Research as much as you can about a particular field that you want to get in. Just know as much as you can. Then number 2 is know your competition. Know your competitors. Now, at this point, you need to know the challenges that they're facing, everything about them, where the issues are, what it is that you can improve on. Like, just know, because sometimes just saying, no, those are making money is not enough.
No.
Every business has its own challenges that you know nothing about.
Every industry too.
Every industry, yes. So you need to delve in and know your competitors inside out. Then number 3, differentiate yourself. Now here is where your question comes in to say, this copycat kind arrangement. There is nothing, my take though, not so popular. There is nothing wrong with copying a business idea. And I strongly believe if you love a business idea, you love a particular, business and whatnot, wow, go right on it, copy it. It's okay. But there is everything wrong if you implement it the same way you copied it.
Because then you're not doing anything better or different.
That's the thing. So you can copy an idea and see how you can improve yourself, improve on it, how you can differentiate yourself and reposition yourself. So if you look at it very well, you will realize that there are very few original business ideas. Very few original business ideas. Well, as an example, Facebook, as an example, it is not the first social media platform. It was an improved version, better interaction and whatnot, but it was not the first one. Amazon, it was not the first e-commerce site. There were those that came in earlier, but it got to be improved on. Same with Alibaba and whatnot. They are not the first ones. It was a copied idea, but improved on and made impact, better. Same with private schools. We have a number of private schools that are flourishing, doing so well. But those ones that came in later on were improved versions of the ones that were there earlier. So there is nothing wrong with copying a business idea. You have a podcast, interesting stuff you're doing. But you look at the class, So it may not be the first podcast, but it is an improved version. And that is why people are following, loving what you're doing. And that is why I'm here. Why? Because it is an improved version of a podcast. Well, you can just imagine how many podcasts I get invited to. But because they are not so improved. So
we'll leave it there before I get you in trouble.
That's the thing. So what I'm basically putting across is that you can copy an idea, but improve on it, differentiate yourself. Then the 4th one is implement. So know the game. Know your competitors. Differentiate yourself and implement, because sometimes you can pass through all these 3 steps but still fail to implement.
To actually implement.
To actually act. So what am I saying? You can copy, but differentiate yourself.
Just do it better. Whilst you're at it, like, we want impact. We want like some serious impact.
And that's the thing.
Like, we've seen this before. And I feel this is where now even preferences when it comes to clients, we have a number of places where you can get furniture from. For instance, now let's go into the banking sector. The banks offer the same products. Same products. Open a savings account, there's an investment account, there are A, B, C, D, and credit. Same things. But I'm going to go to each one of them based on my preference. I will go to ABSA, I'll go to Zanaco, I'll go to Finance Bank based on my preferences. And that's what then makes each one of them stand out. Which then,
True. Actually, maybe that one is even a better example. Talk of filling stations. You pay for the same amount of petrol. Same. And it is regulated. Same. But why do you go to Total and not Engine? Or why do you go to Engine and not Puma? And why do you go? Why? So there must be something extra that you get from that particular one. So it is how different it is. So it could be the looks, it could be the customer service, it could be, so there must be something that differentiates you from others.
So someone told me, like, when I was starting the firm, saying you need to get to a point where you sit in people's subconscious. I think that is like the most powerful thing that I've ever heard. Like, you need to get to a point where you sit in people's subconscious. Like, how am I sitting in someone's subconscious? Like, the person is not going to come to you and buy on day one. But if your impact is big enough, half the time, even people that can't afford your services or are not interested in your services at the moment will know of you. And then you would have known that you would have caused impact. And for me, I think that's one of the best advices that I've gotten, following through what you've just mentioned.
True. You need to make an impact, not just to your customers or
Yes,
potential
yes,
customers,
yeah.
if you can just hit
Even the spectators.
across.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, as an example, I don't watch soccer.
Yes.
But when the World Cup is taking place, I'll know that, okay, today
As
it's
soccer
final.
lovers,
You
will
so-
make sure that you know. So
know
yeah.
whether it is just a decision,
Yes.
whether you want to or not, but you will know.
You will know.
And it will go on your face.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Everywhere.
So that's an issue of impact. Really.
Everywhere.
So it will be at the subconscious.
Yes.
And you know now it is semi-finals,
Yes.
whether you support or not, whether you watch or not, that is up to you.
Even if you're in your own house, you already know that it's today's finals.
That's the thing.
Shame, yeah?
Yeah.
So part of the, we've seen this as a reason, valid reason, excuse if you may put it that way, and that's lack of access to finance. This conversation has been going on for as long as entrepreneurship came on the scene. Every business needs startup capital, they need funds to expand their businesses. Do you feel Zambian entrepreneurs receive the much needed financial support from financial institutions? Let's put it that way.
Okay. Wow. That's a very interesting question. I should indicate that I hear that all the time.
Yes.
There's lack of financial support. Banks are not helping. Microfins are not helping, and whatnot. You have an idea and whatnot. I think for a moment, as I come to that, let me hit it from the other angle.
Yes.
I've come to understand financial institutions. We have a challenge which is bigger than just the banks. We have a challenge which is bigger than the failure by these institutions to give, our financial help.
Yes.
Let me give a very interesting example. Our national registration cards are not digitized. Yeah, I know that sounds remote, but let me break it down for you.
Yes.
They're not digitized. So what this entails is that I can go get my NRC with these details.
Yes.
I can go again and get another one, and another one, and another one. So I can have 10 NRCs.
Yes.
Now, what that entails is that I have 10 different identities. So to track you down, it becomes very difficult. So if you get a loan from the bank using your national identity, if you decide not to pay, it is very possible for repercussions not to hit you because you can still use a different identity to, do other things or maybe open it. So you can stand as a different being. And I understand where the challenge really is. Our identity is not digitized, and that causes a huge challenge.
Yes.
Certain countries that have managed to digitize identity, you see, you could have issues with water bills.
Yes.
And this is connected to your driver's license.
Yes.
This is connected to your national identity. This is connected to your bank. This is like it is connected.
The Credit Score Bureau actually has all the information.
Everything is connected. Now, if we were to find ourselves in that kind of space, giving you money makes it a lot more easier because we can easily trace you using your fingertips and whatnot. But our identity is quite difficult to track you that way. So as a result, for the financial institutions to protect themselves, they then have to be, very strict.
Yes.
So we need to truly know that indeed you are you. You are the one getting the money, and you'll be able to. So there must be a proper way of, collateral, knowing who you are and whatnot. It is unlike certain countries that have managed to digitize their identity. So you can just walk in and get a phone immediately on loan. You can get in a store and get, things on credit quite easily, which is not the case here because our identity is not digitized. So that is one aspect, and we need to understand that. So when you hear a bank say, no collateral, this and that, it is because our identity is not, we are not traceable. We are not traceable.
I'm hearing this for the first time, so I'm intrigued. Yes.
Yeah, we are not traceable. We are not traceable. And it is quite difficult for them. It is quite difficult for them because these things, your fingerprints are not digitized.
Yes.
You can be many different Lyapas,
Yeah.
you know, with maybe you could even have the same name but different NRCs,
That's
or even
true.
different names altogether.
That's true.
Yes. But if it was digitized, it would make it easier for you, because you can't have
run away per se.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So then they would lock you down.
This does make a lot of sense. I think this is like one of the biggest light bulb moments I've ever had.
Is it?
Yeah, because I see it in countries like South Africa, for instance,
Yeah.
where you can get almost anything on credit. Even just, I saw, and I remember I was laughing to myself, there was an advert about, it's winter, so now they're advertising duvets and blankets and saying you can actually get this quality of a blanket and pay for it over a course of 24 months, and you can actually just do the transaction online. So it's credit for 24 months and they'll have it delivered to you. So they do have a system where they know if they can give you something as trivial as a blanket on credit, then they probably should trust you enough to send it to your house even before you're filling. And it's like zero documentation. All you have to do is sign in on the app and do ABCD. I'm just like, okay, it makes sense now.
If we could get there, then would be said to access, you know, funds quite easily.
Yes.
So that is one end. Then on the other end, so that is on the financial side.
Yes.
Then on the other end, I should indicate that an average Zambian is not honest.
Ooh,
Yeah.
talk to us.
An average Zambian
Talk to us.
is not honest.
Okay.
I'm not saying crooks. I mean, there are certain countries where you have
but
an average person is a crook.
I need you to defend why we are not honest. Now I'm on the Zambian side. So
Okay,
let's
cool.
talk.
The reason why it is difficult to get funds, it is because an average Zambian is not honest. Now, let me explain it this way. Have you noticed that some of people who could be so close to you,
yes,
they don't care so much about their what is called reputational collateral. So, you know,
yes,
one who would then come in and say, help me with 100 kwacha. I'll give you back tomorrow.
yes.
For whatever reasons, they tend to forget to do that. They tend to forget to pay back. Of course, it may not be much,
Yes.
but they tend to forget.
What do you mean you've forgotten to pay me back? That's the question.
It is deliberate, actually. I would like to think so, because we don't care so much about our reputation. We don't respect ourselves so much to stay honest. And that is why our political leaders can lie anyhow and they'll not be held accountable. Have you realized that political leaders from countries where, you know, being honest is held in high esteem, when they lie and things are on the table, they resign? Now, a Zambian wouldn't do that. A very interesting example. Did you notice that mobile companies had gotten to a point where they wanted to give Zambians money on credit, you know, using this
loans,
mobile, you know, this mobile money thing, so you can easily, you know, get money quite easily, you know, So they would give you those little
Amounts,
loans. Yes. Did you notice that at some point, after a number of them had gotten, you know, those little loans, that they would say, no, send me money, but don't send on this line. Send on this. Why? Because
I've noticed that. I've heard that before,
Yes, because what would then happen if you send money on that line,
They'll deduct.
the little loan, they'll deduct. So I'm saying, no, don't send on this, send on this other one.
Shame.
Why?
Shame on
Because
us.
we are not just honest on those little things. So if we realized how important it is for us to be honest, there is so much more that we can achieve. Now, this calls for a cultural change. So to call for yourself and myself to stand and say, no, let us be people who are upright. Let us be people who keep our words. Let us say, if you say I'll come in at 13:30, you come in at 13:30. Like people who hold integrity at the highest, you know, level. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I introduced you as CEO of DLN Institute. Yeah. We know you as a radical entrepreneur, but you do have a full-time job as a CEO of an entrepreneurial institute or university. We are slowly seeing Zambian entrepreneurs become a bit more sensitive to innovation and changing markets, and also they're eager to insert themselves into new markets. We've also seen the introduction of a new ministry called the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise, and then there's you as DLN Institute. what works are we expecting from DLN and such ministries or such organizations to extend the entrepreneurial services to each and every Zambian? You can speak for yourself, maybe if you haven't had this chat with the minister yet.
Okay, great. I think one side that I believe should be aggressively pursued is the side of mindset change. Yeah. There is this notion, of course, emanating from your previous question, where you said, lack of finances, lack of, money and whatnot. Yes. Well, it is important, but what we need to spend a bit more time on is to let Zambians get to have this drive of enterprising, the need to know as much as they can in the sphere of business. Now, let me put it across this way. Last week, I was visiting the village, and I'm just trying to qualify why knowledge is extremely important and why we need to push this more than even the finances.
Yes.
So last week I was visiting the village, and every time I visit the village, I would go with my pickup.
Yes.
But this time around, I decided to go with my SUV, the Range Rover.
Yes.
So got that side, and people liked it, yeah, so nice car and whatnot and whatnot. So I had a moment to also just show one or two things. You press this button, it reduces, it gets low. Then you press this other one, it can be elevated. Then you press this one. So then I elevated it to the max. So now in my thinking was, no, if you're in that kind of a place, you need to elevate it to the max. So I elevated it to the max.
And wait, just on that point, so I traveled, it was last week, so I traveled last week. Do you know that I only learned that it's only in Zambia that a Hilux and a Fortuner and a Range Rover are cars that are used in the urban areas? They're actually off-road. I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't know that a Fortuner and a Range Rover are actually made for off-roads, and not for the boardroom.
They are. No, it is actually out of poverty that you see them like, this one I can't. There was an interesting uproar at one time. I had it in the field, at the farms, and they're saying,
I think I saw that.
Yeah, so like, but who takes the Range Rover? I was like, come on.
It's meant for this. It's meant for the terrain.
Yeah, that's the thing. But then I elevated it to the max.
Yes.
So after elevating it to the max, unfortunately at that point I'd loaded more people. I had overloaded actually. So I'm moving in the gravel road at a high speed, and the road was a bit bad and whatnot. But the challenge that was there was the car was really elevated, and I thought that was the correct thing to do. And guess what? The airbags burst, from behind. Wow. So one started off, and before long the other one did burst.
Shame.
And of course, it comes at a huge price to replace, over 100,000 just to replace the thing. But here's the thing. At the point of replacing now, we are having a conversation, but how would airbags burst? Then this person explains to say, no, you made a mistake. So the mistake you made was you elevated the vehicle too high. Now, by elevating, you elevate with air. So meaning there is a lot of air which is there. One. Then two, you had overloaded. Then you are moving, in a road which is not straight. Now, I did not think about it. Now, you look at the cost that I now have to incur, which is in hundreds, just to replace that. Had I known, or had someone told me that, I would have avoided that.
True.
But I didn't know. So in a similar way, we have a number of entrepreneurs who do not know what to do. So if we made the information available, there is so much more that you are going to avoid. So many losses that you are going to avoid. So giving out money is not the only solution. Actually, it is not the solution, according to me, but I know that people would actually stone me for this. And I stand on this. Giving out money is not the solution. If an entrepreneur is cooked and they know what they're doing, funds will be found.
I always say, okay, I won't say this out loud, but entrepreneurship is for people that are mentally ready. Like, you need to be more mentally prepared than financially prepared. And I feel once you get that to that point where you understand that it's more mental than it is a financial benefit, then you're ready, because it's strenuous. It's strenuous in relation to management of your business. You have to manage the market landscape. You have to manage your competitors. You have to manage, if you personally, I'm in a business where we have regulators, so you have to manage different stakeholders. So I've learned it the hard way. So if you know what's good for you, I feel you need to take exactly what Dumisani has mentioned and build some mental fortitude of some sort.
True. And also, just to maybe add there, you see, you have a number of external factors to manage.
Yes.
A number of external factors to manage.
Yes.
When you are employed, it is just yourself and how you behave as an employee. You know, do you report on time? Do you work hard? Do you put in your best and whatnot? But once you've started your enterprise, you have employees to manage who will give you interesting headaches. You'll be so shocked. You get in there. It is quite interesting.
It's quite the
to
journey.
Manage people.
That's
People management is one of the toughest things, actually, because you are managing a whole human being. They have their own dreams, their own aspirations, and you want them to align to your dreams.
That's true.
And it is crazy.
And also even just the interpretation of your vision. You need to understand that you are the vision carrier. So you're constant interpreting it to different people to say, look, this is how I want things done. You can't blame another person for not having the ability to interpret your vision the way you interpret it, because they are not you. And also there's B2B, business to business interactions, where you have to manage different stakeholders for your businesses to thrive. That and plenty more. And the 24 hours, that always feels like you need like an extra 24 hours, because it doesn't add up. But Dumisani, you are the person for the conversation, and I like to believe you've broken down this conversation piece by piece. And all we can say is thank you for coming on my Work podcast. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure being here. And please continue doing the great works that you're doing. I'm proud of your works. And let the journey continue.
Indeed. So that is Dumisani Mbewe. I got it right. Mbewe.
Oh, yeah. Well, finally.
Dumisani Mbewe, who is a renowned global speaker and, more importantly, CEO of DLN Institute, one of the most radical, the only radical entrepreneur that we have, and one of the champions that we have when it comes to pushing the entrepreneurial landscape right here in Zambia. So this is my Work podcast. We've been talking all things entrepreneurship and how you can get started on your entrepreneurial journey. You can find this podcast on all podcast platforms. And more importantly, you can find us on YouTube, because now we have visuals, and also on our Facebook page, which is My Work Podcast. And also you can follow PremierCredit, who sponsors this particular podcast. So thank you so much. And while you're at it, make sure that you follow Dumisani on all his platforms, and also follow the revolution that he has started. Until next time, my name is Lyapa Mbewe, and this is My Work Podcast.